Have you ever felt different from other people? As if you carried an invisible baggage that no one else could see? Or had the strange feeling that you've lived much more than your years suggest? If the answer is yes, you might be facing something much deeper than you imagine. There is a fascinating theory in the spiritual world that divides souls into two main categories: young souls and old souls. Young souls are those in their first incarnations, still learning the basic lessons of human existence. They tend to be more impulsive, focused on materialism and immediate pleasures. There's nothing wrong with that. It's simply a natural part of the soul's evolutionary process. Old souls, on the other hand, are completely different. They have gone through hundreds, perhaps thousands of reincarnations over the centuries. They carry with them the accumulated wisdom of past lives, a deep understanding of human suffering, and a unique perspective on what truly matters in life. These souls are not easily impressed by social status, material wealth, or superficial recognition. They seek something greater: purpose, spiritual connection, and the opportunity to help others on their journey. Today I will share with you the 12 clearest signs that you have reincarnated many times. These signs are not just spiritual curiosities. They are valuable clues about who you really are and what your purpose in this current life might be. Recognizing yourself as an old soul can explain why certain situations have always seemed easy for you, why some people feel instantly connected to your presence, or why you've always known things you never formally learned. Sign 1. Unexplainable memories of places never visited. Imagine a 4-year-old child describing in detail the streets of a European city they have never visited, or talking about how to bake bread in a stone oven when their family has always bought bread at the supermarket. These are not products of a child's imagination. They are fragments of memories that have crossed the veil between lives. Many children with old souls begin to talk about when I lived somewhere else, or in my other home. They describe specific landscapes, customs from other cultures, even architectural details of buildings that no longer exist. Parents often interpret this as fantasy, but when they investigate more deeply, they discover that these descriptions match real places and specific historical periods. A striking feature of these memories is emotional accuracy. The child doesn't just describe a place but expresses longing, as if truly remembering home. They may cry when talking about people who were left behind, or show knowledge of family traditions they never learned. Sign 2. Specific irrational fears. Another powerful indicator is fears that make no sense in the context of the current life. A child who has never experienced any traumatic incident with fire but panics at the sight of a simple lit candle. Or one who adamantly refuses to go into water, even in a bathtub, without ever having drowned or witnessed any water accident. These fears are extremely specific and disproportionate. They are not just normal childhood discomforts. They are visceral reactions that seem to come from a much deeper place. The child can't explain why they are afraid. They just know that something bad happens when faced with that situation. What's most fascinating is that these fears often correspond to common forms of death in past lives. Fear of heights may indicate a fatal fall. Dread of enclosed spaces may suggest imprisonment experiences. Extreme aversion to certain types of food may be related to poisoning in previous existences. As we grow up, we often overcome these fears or learn to live with them, but they rarely disappear completely. They remain as subconscious reminders of experiences our rational mind can't access. Sign 3. Encounters with familiar souls. Interpersonal déjà vu. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a complete stranger and felt like you've known them for decades? We're not talking about instant sympathy or physical attraction. It's something much deeper. It's the feeling of being in front of someone who has been part of your story long before this life began. These encounters happen unexpectedly and leave an indelible mark. It can be in a grocery store line, on your first day at work, or even through a computer screen. The moment your eyes meet, there is mutual recognition that neither of you can rationally explain. The conversation flows with impressive naturalness, as if you were resuming a dialogue that was interrupted long ago. You share thoughts, stories, and even similar facial expressions. There is a synchronization that goes beyond coincidence. It's as if your souls are dancing a choreography they already know perfectly. Many times, these people come into our lives at crucial moments. They appear exactly when we need specific guidance, an important opportunity, or when we are undergoing a significant transformation. It's not a coincidence, it's the universe orchestrating reunions that were planned long before our birth. What's most fascinating is that these connections often survive time and distance. Even if you are apart for years, when you meet again, the connection remains intact. It's as if no time has passed, as if you simply continue from where you left off. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of connections between old souls is the way relationships develop. There's no awkward initial discovery phase that characterizes most human relationships. Instead, there is an immediate intimacy that feels completely natural to both parties. These relationships can be romantic, deep friendships, or even special family connections. What unites them is not the time spent together in this life, but the unconscious recognition of a much longer shared history. Sign 4. Attraction to specific cultures and eras without prior exposure. From a very young age, you've always felt irresistibly drawn to a specific culture, a particular historical period, or a geographic region that had no connection whatsoever to your upbringing or family environment. It's not a casual interest. It's a deep passion that seems to come from within your soul. It could be an obsession with medieval Japanese culture, an unexplainable connection to ancient Ireland, or a fascination with lost civilizations like Atlantis or Lemuria. What makes this special is that this interest arises naturally, without external influence, and remains consistent throughout your life. When you finally have the opportunity to study this culture or visit these places, the experience is deeply emotional. It feels like you are returning home after a long absence. The customs make intuitive sense, the architecture seems familiar, and even the sounds of the local language trigger memories you cannot consciously place. Many people report that upon visiting these places for the first time, they are able to navigate them with surprising ease. They instinctively know where to find certain things, feel comfortable with local traditions that should be unfamiliar, and are often told by locals that they have an unusual understanding of the culture. This attraction also manifests in inexplicable preferences for certain types of food, musical styles, art forms, or even weather patterns. You may love torrential rain without ever having lived in a rainy place, or feel deep peace when seeing lavender fields, even if you've never been to Provence. Sign 5. Extraordinary innate abilities. There is a fundamental difference between learned skills and talents that seem to come from a mysterious source within us. When we observe children playing piano as if they already know the keys by heart, adults speaking languages they never studied, or people mastering complex arts without formal instruction, we are witnessing something that transcends conventional learning. Imagine a 6-year-old child sitting at the piano for the first time and immediately playing complex melodies as if their hands already know exactly where to find each note. Or a teenager who picks up a paintbrush and creates artworks with techniques that take masters decades to master. These are not cases of ordinary genius. They are manifestations of knowledge developed in previous lives. These abilities appear spontaneously and naturally. The person doesn't struggle to learn the basic fundamentals because, at some deep level, they already know them. It's as if they are simply remembering something they've always known, rather than discovering something new. What's most fascinating is that these abilities often come with an unexplainable passion. The person doesn't just do something well, they feel a deep need to express that talent. It's as if their soul is screaming for them to continue developing an art they mastered in past existences. Often, these people also demonstrate knowledge about historical or cultural aspects related to their talent. A young violinist may intuitively know 18th century instrument-making techniques, or a dancer may feel a special connection to traditional dances from cultures they've never studied. What makes these talents truly special is the way they manifest in the person's life. It's not just an isolated skill, it feels like an integral part of the soul's identity. The person feels they were born to do that their life doesn't make sense without expressing that specific talent. These people often describe a sense of coming home when practicing their skills. Everything else in the world seems to disappear, and they enter a flow state that feels completely natural. It's as if they are returning to their original state of being. When you recognize these patterns in your own life, or in the lives of those around you, you're facing powerful evidence that some abilities transcend a single lifetime. They are gifts we carry through lives, continuously developing them until they become perfect expressions of our deepest essence. These talents are not accidents or coincidences, they are tools our soul chose to develop in order to fulfill specific purposes in this lifetime. They represent aspects of our most authentic nature, ways through which we can contribute to the world and express our true essence. Sign 6. Accelerated learning in specific areas. While some people are born with already developed talents, others discover they have an extraordinary ability to learn certain skills at a surprisingly fast pace. We're not talking about naturally intelligent people, we're talking about cases where learning happens in an almost supernatural way. These individuals often report that when they begin studying something new, they feel like they are remembering instead of learning. Concepts make immediate sense, techniques feel familiar, and progress happens at a speed that even the most experienced teachers find impressive. It could be a language mastered in months instead of years, a profession learned in record time, or an art developed with a naturalness that defies any logical explanation. What all these situations have in common is the sense that the person is simply reconnecting with knowledge they already possessed. Often, these individuals also develop a special intuition about their area of expertise. They instinctively know when something is right or wrong, can foresee problems before they appear, and frequently innovate in ways only possible with a deep understanding of fundamentals. The human body is much more than just flesh and bone. It's a living archive that records not only the experiences of this life, but also carries marks from previous existences. When we understand that we are energetic beings having a physical experience, we begin to see that certain bodily characteristics can be echoes of past lives. Sign 7. Birthmarks in significant locations. The human body is much more than just flesh and bone. It's a living archive that records not only the experiences of this life, but also carries marks from previous existences. When we understand that we are energetic beings having a physical experience, we begin to see that certain bodily characteristics can be echoes of past lives. Birthmarks have always intrigued humanity. While medical science explains them as normal variations in skin development, spiritual wisdom offers a much more fascinating perspective. Many ancient traditions believe that these marks are physical reminders of traumatic or significant experiences from previous lives. When a birthmark appears in a location that corresponds to a fatal wound from a past life, we're not looking at a coincidence. It's as if the soul retains a cellular memory of the trauma, manifesting it physically in the new incarnation. A mark on the neck may indicate death by strangulation. Marks on the chest may suggest sword wounds, and spots in specific areas may correspond to bullet injuries. What's most interesting is that these marks often come with inexplicable sensations or memories. The person may feel discomfort or special sensitivity in that area, even without any apparent medical reason. Some people report that when they touch their birthmarks, they experience flashes of memories they cannot consciously identify. In addition to marks related to traumas, there are also those that may indicate special traits from past lives. Marks shaped like stars, perfect circles, or geometric patterns may suggest connections to ancient spiritual practices, mystical initiations, or even tribal identifications from other incarnations. Sign 8. Extreme energetic sensitivity. Souls that have gone through many reincarnations develop an energetic sensitivity far beyond the norm. They can feel other people's emotions as if they were their own, instantly sense changes in a room's atmosphere, and often know when something important is about to happen. This sensitivity manifests in various ways. It may be the ability to sense when someone is lying, even if the person is an excellent actor. It may be the ability to detect illness in others before they show symptoms. Or it may be a keen intuition about places, sensing whether a location has positive or negative energy. Many people with high energetic sensitivity also report experiences with the spiritual world. They may see or feel presences that others can't detect, have frequent prophetic dreams, or receive messages through synchronicities that seem coordinated by a higher intelligence. This sensitivity also extends to the natural world. These individuals often have a special connection with animals, plants, and natural phenomena. They may predict weather changes, feel energized by certain types of landscapes, and often have a natural green thumb for gardening. We've come this far exploring deep signs that our soul leaves on the physical body. Now I want to hear from you. Do you have a birthmark in a place that has always sparked your curiosity, or perhaps a special sensitivity that those around you don't understand? Share in the comments which of these signs stood out the most to you. Your experiences may help others recognize similar patterns in their own lives. A person's most authentic behaviors are rarely products of education or their current environment alone. When we observe consistent patterns that manifest from childhood and remain stable over decades, we are seeing traits that transcend a single existence. These are soul traits that remain constant through reincarnations. Sign 9. Emotional maturity disproportionate to age. There is a striking difference between people who have learned to behave maturely and those who were simply born with natural emotional wisdom. Old souls show an intuitive understanding of how to deal with conflict, suffering, and complex relationships, even when they've never experienced anything that would justify such maturity. These individuals often become natural counselors, even when young. Friends and family instinctively seek their guidance, as if recognizing a source of wisdom beyond their chronological age. They know exactly what to say in difficult moments, not because they learned counseling techniques, but because they've faced similar situations in other lives. The way they deal with loss and disappointment is also revealing. While most people need time and support to process trauma, old souls demonstrate an impressive ability to accept pain as a natural part of the human experience. They don't minimize suffering, but have a perspective that allows them to heal more quickly and extract valuable lessons from every difficult experience. Another fascinating aspect is how these individuals handle interpersonal conflicts. They rarely get involved in unnecessary drama, prefer to resolve problems through direct communication, and demonstrate a natural ability to forgive that seems to come from a deep understanding of human nature. Perhaps the most obvious sign of an old soul is how they behave in social situations. There's a natural dignity, a way of carrying themselves and interacting with others that suggests an inner authority developed over many lives. These individuals often prefer deep conversations to superficial small talk. They feel more comfortable discussing philosophy, spirituality, or existential questions than gossip or popular entertainment. It's not that they consider themselves superior, they simply don't find satisfaction in interactions that don't nourish their soul. Sign 10. Constant search for spiritual meaning. From a very young age, old souls feel an inner calling to explore existential questions. They are not satisfied with superficial answers about the purpose of life, the nature of reality, or what happens after death. There is an insatiable thirst for spiritual understanding that goes far beyond intellectual curiosity. This quest is not influenced by the religious environment in which they were raised. A person may have grown up in a completely secular family and still develop a deep connection to spiritual practices. Or they may have been raised in a specific religious tradition but feel called to explore spiritual paths from completely different cultures. What characterizes this search is its consistency throughout life. It's not a passing phase during adolescence or a reaction to a personal crisis. It's a fundamental orientation that guides the person's most important decisions, from career choices to the relationships they build. These individuals often develop personalized spiritual practices that combine elements from different traditions. They intuitively know what works for their soul, as if remembering practices they already mastered in other lives. Meditation, prayer, gratitude rituals, or energy work, it all feels familiar and natural. Sign 11. Vivid dreams of other eras and places. Imagine waking up with the crystal clear memory of walking through the streets of a medieval city, wearing period clothing, speaking a language you don't know, but that in the dream flowed naturally from your mouth. These are not ordinary dreams, they are past life memories manifesting during the altered state of sleep. Old souls often report dreams that are more vivid and detailed than many waking life experiences. In these dreams, they live other identities completely naturally, as if simply remembering episodes of their own history. They might be a merchant on the Silk Road, a priestess in an Egyptian temple, or a craftsman in Renaissance Italy. What makes these dreams special is the richness of the details. The person can describe the texture of the clothes, the taste of specific foods, the smells of environments, and even physical sensations like the weight of armor or the softness of luxurious fabrics. These sensory elements are so vivid that they remain in memory for years, sometimes decades. Often, these dreams also include people the soul deeply recognizes, even if their faces are different from those known in this current life. It's as if the essence of people remains the same, even when they inhabit different bodies. Frequently, these are the same souls who appear as significant connections in the current life. Another fascinating aspect is that these dreams often happen in sequence over months or years, as if the soul is revisiting a specific life in episodes. The person may dream of different phases of the same past existence, from childhood to death, creating a complete narrative that provides deep insights into patterns and lessons that repeat across lives. Learning to distinguish between regular dreams and past life memories is essential for those seeking to understand their spiritual journey. Ordinary dreams often include bizarre elements, logical inconsistencies, and random mixes of people and places from the current life. Past life dreams have very specific characteristics. Past life dreams tend to awaken very intense emotions that can last for days after the dream. It might be a deep longing for a place that no longer exists, love for people who were left behind, or sadness for missed opportunities in other existences. These emotions are much deeper than typical reactions to regular dreams. Many people also report that these dreams happen at specific times in life, often when they are going through major transitions or facing challenges that echo lessons from past lives. It's as if the soul activates these memories to provide guidance based on previous experiences. Past life dreams are not just spiritual curiosities, they serve specific purposes in the soul's growth. Often, they appear to help resolve unresolved karmic patterns, heal old traumas, or provide insights into the purpose of the current life. When you begin to pay attention to your dreams from this perspective, you may discover a treasure trove of information about who you truly are, where you've come from, and where you're going on this eternal journey of the soul. Before we reveal the last and most powerful sign of an old soul, I want to share something that can completely transform your spiritual journey. If you've made it this far and recognize several of these signs in yourself, it's not a coincidence. Your soul is awakening to its true nature, and that means you have extraordinary potential to manifest the reality you desire. Old souls have a natural connection with the universal laws of manifestation, but often need to relearn how to consciously use this power in this life. If you feel there's something much greater about who you truly are. I created something special for you. The Book of the Soul is a complete guide of 7 portals that will take you on a deep journey of self-discovery. You'll learn how to recognize the signs your soul sends, access your Akashic records, and most importantly, remember your unique mission in this life. Along with the book, you'll receive 3 exclusive bonuses: energetic protection, a soul astrological map, and a personalized oracle. People who have already read it are experiencing beautiful transformations, reconnecting with their purpose, and finally understanding who they came here to be. The link is in the first pinned comment. Sign 12. Intuitive knowledge about life, death, and suffering. Now we come to the deepest and most revealing sign of a soul that has gone through multiple reincarnations. Intuitive wisdom about the most fundamental aspects of human existence. This is not knowledge acquired through books, courses, or experiences in this current life. It is knowledge that emanates from the core of the soul, accumulated through hundreds or thousands of experiences of birth, life, death, and rebirth. Old souls possess an instinctive understanding of the eternal cycle of existence. They know, without needing explanations, that death is not an end, but a transition. This understanding does not come from religious beliefs or spiritual studies. It is a visceral certainty that permeates every cell of their being. When they face the loss of loved ones, although they feel the pain of temporary separation, there is an underlying peace that comes from the certainty that everyone will meet again. This wisdom manifests in very practical ways in everyday life. These people demonstrate a natural ability to offer comfort to those going through difficult moments. They know exactly what to say, not because they learned counseling techniques, but because they've been in similar situations many times before. Their words carry a weight and authenticity that come from real experience, even if that experience occurred in other lives. The wisdom of past lives reveals itself through insights that seem to come out of nowhere but prove deeply true. It might be a sudden understanding of the nature of a complex relationship, an intuition about how to solve an apparently impossible conflict, or unexplainable knowledge about how to navigate situations they've technically never faced before. These individuals often surprise themselves with the depth of their own observations. They may make casual comments about human nature that leave others in contemplative silence, not because they're trying to impress, but because they're simply expressing truths that are obvious to them. There's also a distinctive way these souls deal with injustices. Although they feel indignation at unnecessary suffering, they rarely allow themselves to be consumed by anger or thirst for revenge. They intuitively understand the concept of karma not as a system of divine punishment, but as the natural law of cause and effect that governs all actions and their consequences. This understanding extends to how they view the villains of life. They can recognize that even people who cause suffering are, at some level, creating learning experiences for themselves and others. This doesn't mean they tolerate destructive behavior or don't take steps to protect themselves, but rather that they maintain a broader perspective on the spiritual purposes behind difficult experiences. Perhaps the most striking characteristic of old souls is their capacity for genuine compassion. This compassion is not based on moral ideals or religious teachings. It is the natural result of having experienced practically every facet of the human condition over multiple lives. Old souls often demonstrate a natural clarity about their purpose in this life. Even when they can't specifically articulate what their mission is, they feel an inner direction that guides them toward activities and relationships that are meaningful for their growth and the well-being of others. The more wisdom a soul accumulates, the more humble it becomes. Old souls rarely boast about their knowledge or try to impress others with their spirituality. They understand that true wisdom is silent and manifests through actions, not words. This humility comes from the understanding that no matter how many lives a soul has lived, there is still infinitely more to learn. They see themselves as eternal students in the cosmic university, always open to new lessons and perspectives. After exploring the 12 deepest signs of an old soul, it's time for you to take an honest look at your own journey. This is not a multiple-choice test where you need to mark all the correct answers. It's a process of intimate recognition where your soul whispers truths that your rational mind may have ignored for years. Pause for a moment and reflect on each sign we explored. Don't force connections where they don't exist, but also don't dismiss experiences that have always seemed strange or unexplainable. The truth about our spiritual nature rarely arrives with fanfare. It reveals itself through quiet clues that accumulate until a clear picture forms. If you recognized only one or two signs, it doesn't mean your soul is young. It may simply indicate that your past life memories are more deeply buried, or that you are in the early stages of spiritual awakening. Some souls choose to keep a thicker veil over their previous experiences in order to fully focus on the lessons of this current life. If you identified between 3 and 6 signs, there's a strong likelihood that you are a soul that has already gone through multiple reincarnations. These manifestations suggest that your consciousness is beginning to access information from past existences, and that you are ready to integrate that wisdom into your current life. If you recognized 7 or more signs, there's no doubt. You are an old soul with a rich history that stretches across many lives. Your presence in this world is not accidental. You came with a specific mission and carry spiritual tools developed over centuries of experience. What's most important is not the number of signs, but the intensity of your emotional reaction to them. When something resonates deeply with your soul, you feel an inner vibration, a yes, that comes from a place far deeper than the intellect. Trust these visceral reactions. They are your soul recognizing aspects of itself. Exploring past lives is not just a spiritual curiosity. It can be a powerful tool for healing and personal growth. However, it's important to approach this work with respect and proper preparation. First, always maintain the intention to use this information for positive growth in your current life. The goal is not to escape the present or glorify yourself with impressive past identities, but to understand karmic patterns, heal old traumas, and access wisdom that can help on your current journey. Second, be prepared to discover that not all your past lives were glamorous or noble. Just like in this life, you likely had existences where you made mistakes, faced difficult challenges, or even caused suffering to others. These discoveries should not bring guilt or shame, but compassion for the complexity of the soul's journey. Third, remember that not all information that arises during these explorations should be taken as literal truth. Sometimes the subconscious mind creates metaphors or symbols to communicate emotional or spiritual truths. The value often lies in the message or the healing the experience provides, not necessarily in the historical accuracy of the details. We've come to the end of this journey of discovery, but in truth, this is just the beginning of your conscious adventure as an old soul. Now that you have this understanding of your spiritual nature, you have a choice: to keep this knowledge to yourself, or to use it to create positive ripples in the world. Remember, you are not here by chance. Your soul consciously chose to incarnate at this specific moment in human history because it has something unique and valuable to contribute. The world needs your wisdom, your compassion, and your elevated perspective on life. Don't underestimate the power of living authentically as an old soul. Every moment of conscious presence, every act of genuine compassion, and every word of wisdom you share creates ripples that reach far beyond what you can imagine. Your journey as an old soul is only beginning to unfold consciously. Embrace this identity with humility and gratitude, and allow it to guide you toward the highest expression of your spiritual potential. The universe conspires in favor of those who live aligned with their greater purpose, and now you know what yours is.